Public Adhoc Administrative Committee meeting to order. Ask the clerk to call a roll, please.
Mr. Schleter.
Here.
Mr. Schumann.
Yes.
Mr. Duffy.
Here.
Mr. Buckholz.
Yes.
And Mr. Kinsley.
Yes. Let the record indicate we have a quorum. Also, we have the county clerk, Lynn Fitch. We have the county administrator, Mike Keith. And we have our representative that's helping us to do the hiring job. Talk about questions.
Yes. Yeah. So, Ron, you have the list.
Can I get us?
And there's 26 questions on here, and if we have an hour, it's gonna be difficult to get through 26 questions. So sometimes when they do their brief introduction, they'll cover some of the other questions. We always say, and give them the opportunity if there's anything else that they want to add to what they already said. But when we start, I'll make sure that they know that we have an hour. We're going to try and get through all the questions that we possibly can. There is one question that I want to ask that's not on here, and I talked to Dave about it. He thought it was a good idea. At WCA once we interviewed someone for a lobbyist position. He had been a president of a college, and he definitely had a lot of qualifications, great guy. But when he got all done with the interview, he wanted to know how many administrative staff people he had designated for himself, and there was none. And he said, well, I've never written a letter before. I've always had somebody do that for me and that type of thing. And I know Tom didn't have administrative support here, so, or anybody assigned to him. So we just want to make sure that they're comfortable. And later on, we'll talk about.
That's a great point.
Yeah, later on, we'll talk about the writing exercise. I think they both did great last night, so I'm not too worried about them being able to put a letter together, but it's still important for them to know that they don't have staff. So, Mr. Chairman, as far as the questions go, if we're going to go around the table, I think it would be good if we assign who is going to ask the questions, and that person would do it for both of the candidates, so that we stay consistent. That's one issue. And then some places where we go, you can see how we rate them, 1 through 5, 1 being poor, 5 excellent. If you feel like it, you can circle that just for your own use, so you know where you think they were. We don't necessarily have to total up these scores if you don't want us to do that. It's more of a reference point for you.
Mr. Chair, I suggest that we start and go, like, if you break down why, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I don't think anybody will get confused that way. You ask that question, and
Mr. Dunn.
I suggest you ask the questions, and if we want to add, we can, but I don't know the advantage of going around the horn here. Each one.
It's whatever the committee wants. We're happy to do either.
Add whatever we want.
But we do think that it's important that the candidates know that it's the county that's driving the ship as well. So we will do whatever you want us to do.
Are you comfortable asking a question, Mr. Duffy, or is that?
Pardon?
Would you be comfortable asking a question or two?
Of course, but
I know you.
I think this is the guy that should ask the questions, and we sit and listen,
Gotcha.
and that's his job, and you feel more comfortable when going around the horn. But
Ms. Zimmer has a hand.
we can always add if there's something we feel is missing. We can supplement it.
We can ask a follow-up question.
Yeah.
We can ask an entirely new question.
Yeah.
Follow-up.
But then that follow-up has to be the same for the next candidates. We can't forget that.
I guess whatever makes it easy for everybody. I don't care if you want maybe even Ron to ask all the questions. Mr. Kinsley, he's chair.
It doesn't have to be everyone on the committee. It could be, a few of them. Whatever you decide.
How do you feel, Ron? You want to ask the questions?
I'll do it. Okay, we're going to take a little change pace. I'll read the questions.
Okay.
That's okay. Ms. Zomer, do you have a comment?
Thank you, Supervisor Kinsley. I just was wondering if possible, before you go into closed session, if the candidates can each give an introduction so that we can hear a little bit from each of the candidates and also how they might address working with the public in the role of being county administrator. Thank you.
Thank you. That's not gonna happen because when we go into closed session, that's where we're gonna start dealing with stuff. But it's a good thought. Thank you. Okay, so if I read all the questions, that means you guys gotta have all the answers. What else we gotta cover then, John?
That's basically it. I would suggest that at least you circle one of the numbers when they're done with the question. If you want to write notes, I'll take some notes as well. But like I said, we don't have to pull the numbers up on the end. It's more of a reference point for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just circle it. We won't total it on the end unless unless you want us to. It's more of a reference. When you go back, maybe jog your memory a little bit.
Does everybody want to have two of these? Maybe that's what you did, two,
Okay.
one for each.
I gave you all of them except two, so.
Yeah, just realize how many I have.
Unless we had different colored pens.
But after we finish with each candidate, are we to discharge them and let them go, or we have them hang around? Unless we have follow-ups, or-
Finish with each candidate. We have 15 minutes in between. And then when we finish both candidates, I hope we can communicate through today and see if we can decide what we want to do.
If we keep the candidates here, Ron, or we let them go.
I think the candidate's been told that if they would be released, then they could go.
Okay.
Which candidate is first?
I believe Scott is first.
Mr. Chair, I believe when we're doing this scoring on each candidate, I believe that we should go back and pull the score for each candidate, because that's going to give us a good inclination of how they did on their questions.
No, that's fine. We'll all communicate with each other and we'll decide how we want to. You certainly can keep score as you go through it. And then by the time we get done, good feeling. But it's certainly an option.
John, do you think both of these are going to be within that salary range?
We're still on open. I would say both candidates, the range should be workable. One may be a little higher, but I think they can, the one definitely within the range, the other one
Okay.
would be on the top end of the range.
Okay. Thank you.
So Mr. Johnson's.
So are you ready? I can see if it's here. If you
No, this will be up in the full session.
Right.
Does anybody else have any other questions? Yes,
We'll start with introductions of everybody.
we're on the table and introduce all of us to the candidates so he knows
Okay.
who we are. Yes,
One more. Are both of these going to be able to start within a reasonable amount of time?
that's your question.
That's your
question.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, there's a question. On the end.
How much latitude do we have? How much time can we give them? They want to start in 2 months, we say.
A week.
I
30
think
to
they'll answer
45
that for
days,
us.
probably something in that range, I'm guessing.
What's your end date? Mike?
I don't have a hard
You don't have a
ending.
hard-
No.
We're still working on.
The way it's going, I think we'll have this in position before a finance director. And I was hoping it would be the reverse of that.
I think you may find a finance director harder to fill. We're struggling to find some candidates.
the interviews or the background of these guys like Scott, does he have the background he can handle the budget sort of stuff? Do you think?
I think he's got some knowledge there. He's gonna need a finance
And
director, but
we get someone to replace your job, that's gonna be his job to help
yeah,
our candidate.
yeah. I think when Tom and I, because we both knew we were planning to retire this year, so we were kind of planning out which is better, who is better to retire first, and we both felt we better have Tom retired first, get that position replaced, and that administrator can be involved in the finance director replacement.
Which I would say makes sense because depending on the new administrator's capabilities and background.
Right.
Sometimes we see people looking for a very strong finance background. Sometimes it's more on the HR side of things, or both.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
John, is there a question here on how they're gonna deal with the public? Where they can answer that?
I believe there is.
Okay,
And I read through this a couple times. If not, I'll make sure that
because
we have that.
we asked that, the meet and greet, that was two fairly different answers.
I'll make a note of that here. If there's not, let me go through.
For those of us that didn't hit the meet and greet, how did that go?
Very well.
Good.
No, very well.
Oh, very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They set it up very nice, 2 different tables, rotated.
Good.
I thought
I thought it went well.
Yeah, it was good.
Mike was there.
informal.
We had 7 supervisors.
Great, good.
Yep. So there was a lot of interest. They wanted to meet him too, so it was good.
Any feedback from the department heads?
Yeah, we'll get into that, I think.
Yeah, it'll be, when we're done with the interviews, then they'll come in and
I'll tell us.
Dave, and I think he was gonna ask 1 or 2 of the department heads to come in with him
Okay.
and providing feedback.
And I invited the supervisor to come to this if they wanted.
Yeah.
You know, to just be here. They appreciated that.
Good.
We have 1 member of the public. Does any committee member have a hard stop somewhere? Noon or?
If good things go well, I hope to hammer the whole thing out and the adjourn be done.
By-
If things go well,
By noon?
by the time that we get done.
Peter on it.
All right, anybody else? Are we ready to go to closed session?
Ready.
Make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Buckle, second by Mr. Duffy, go into closed session. Roll call vote, please.
Dale Streeter,
Yes.
Reed Schumann,
Yes.
Tom Duffy,
Yes.
Ron Buckles,
Yes.
Ron Kinsley.
Yes.
Right now, there are unmuted, nobody else is online.
Should we make a motion then that we selected this guy or not yet? No, just adjourn.
Thank you, everybody. It was important steps and I think we accomplished what we needed. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.